What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading. Today I'm going to explain why I think June could be an absolutely massive month for Bitcoin. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. So actually, guys, I want to do a very quick kind of trip down memory lane here with Bitcoin to kind of give you guys a sense of like where Bitcoin came from and kind of give you a sense of what the catalyst I think will be. Because of course, that's the main thing that people look for, right? Is when you talk about, there's going to be a big move in Bitcoin. What is the catalyst? What is the trigger going to be? And of course, if you actually go back in time, you realize, wow, like not that we're, a lot of people, how do I explain this? A lot of people say that we're early in Bitcoin's adoption, but I would say that this is not entirely correct, and it becomes very obvious if you just go back through the history and see how far Bitcoin has come. So starting back in May of 2010, of course, that was a Bitcoin Pizza Day. That was the first, a verified transaction of Bitcoin where Laszlo Heinitz, or however, Heinitz, however his name is pronounced, where he bought two pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoin, which of course is worth a lot more now. But that was kind of like the first instance of Bitcoin being used for payments. And then, of course, fast forward to 2011, this is when WikiLeaks started accepting donations in Bitcoin. And of course, that was, I believe, the first time that some major organization was like, yeah, we're willing to basically take a Bitcoin as an asset or as a payment. And then fast forward again here to 2017, in December 2017, when the CME futures the CME futures exchange launched futures for Bitcoin. And of course, this you could say was like the day that Bitcoin became recognized as a legitimate asset by many in the investing community. As a fun fact, there's a lot of traders who believe that Bitcoin's kind of like price manipulation began with the listing in the CME futures. Not going to go down that rabbit hole, but just a quick fun fact that you can look up on your own time. But of course, again, 2017, Bitcoin becomes recognized as a legitimate asset. Fast forward to 2021, when, of course, I think it was in June of 2021 when El Salvador initially announced it would be using Bitcoin as legal tender. And of course, in September, in September 2021, it became an actual law and it became official. And then a couple months later, of course, Bitcoin did top. And of course, similarly here back in 2017, of course, the listing of the CME futures for Bitcoin was the top in that cycle. And then a couple months after El Salvador, 2021, that's when Bitcoin topped as well. 2022, things got very interesting as well. Some of you might have not seen this headline that Iran has reportedly been using crypto for international trade. And of course, Iran does a lot of Bitcoin mining. So chances are that that the crypto they were using was Bitcoin. So you basically have like a sanctioned country using Bitcoin for international trade. So not only is it legal tender, but it's also being used in international trade. Then fast forward to 2023 when Forbes did this expose. I think it was Forbes initially in April of 2023. They revealed that Bhutan, the small country, was secretly mining Bitcoin. So just, again, we're not even halfway through the story here, and you can see already how far we've come from buying pizzas to giving donations to WikiLeaks to listing on, basically like the biggest futures exchange in the world to then being used as legal tender in El Salvador. And then, of course, to being used in cross-border payments for sanctioned countries, to being mined by governments. And then, of course, of last year, Trump promising that there's going to be a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which, of course, there's still like some developments pending around that. But the moment that Trump won the election last year, you could make the argument that it became clear that there would be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So again, it's like, by this stage, you might be thinking, okay, like what is left for Bitcoin to achieve? Like it's achieved all of these things. And of course, the adoption continues in terms of, investors and whatever. But what catalyst is there left really that could cause like another big breakout in Bitcoin's price? And I do think that the only thing that's missing there is for a central bank to officially add Bitcoin to its balance sheet. And some of you guys might remember that earlier this year, the Czech National Bank had considered, or I guess they were considering basically adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet as an investment. And it's super interesting because, of course, the last update there was back in February. Some of you guys might have heard that there was a bunch of like kind of FUD in the news saying like, oh, like they're just discussing alternative assets. They're not really going to invest in Bitcoin. And the head of the Czech National Bank actually posted on X clarifying that no, like, yeah, like this is about Bitcoin and we have this proposal, and they agreed basically to discuss the possibility that they would invest in Bitcoin. And if I were to guess, guys, guys. I actually think that this is an announcement that could come later this month. And that's because later this month, there's going to be a big event in Prague, BTC Prague, June 19th to 21st. If there was to be an announcement, that would kind of like foreshadow some big purchase by the Czech National Bank. I suspect that it would be BTC Prague because, of course, Prague is in the Czech Republic. And if you actually look at the speakers who are coming, it's not people that are just randoms. There's a Michael Saylor, there's Adam Back, there's Jack Mallers, and you might think, wow, like all these people going to Prague, like that's pretty interesting. But I'm still not convinced like what makes Czech Republic so special. For those of you who don't know, of course, Trezor is the one of the largest crypto hardware wallets. They're actually based in Prague, but more importantly, technically speaking, I mean, I think it's up for debate, but it's believed, or to my understanding, one of the first mining pools or the first mining pool for Bitcoin since 2010 is the Brains pool, which is also based in Prague, also based in the Czech Republic. So the Czech Republic has some very interesting connections, let's say, to Bitcoin's early history. And of course, it seems almost suitable that it would be the Czech National Bank that would be coming out and saying, yeah, we're going to, invest in Bitcoin. And again, I'm not guaranteeing, and some of you guys might say, oh, this is just speculation, but newsflash, guys, but most of crypto is speculation. Sorry to burst your bubble. If you've been around this long, I hope you would have noticed by now. But anyways, I do find the parallels there quite interesting. Or of course, we did see, again, El Salvador initially made that announcement about legal tender in June of 2021. And, that doesn't mean it's going to happen in June this time, but it's a similar kind of catalyst. Let's say like there's going to be a big conference, a whole bunch of influential people are coming. You have kind of like this news brewing in the background that the Czech National Bank is potentially considering buying Bitcoin. You have to think logically. It's like, where would they make this announcement? Where would the most suitable place for them to make this announcement be? And that would probably be this event that's coming up later this month. And of course, by this point, you're probably wondering, okay, but how high is Bitcoin going to go? And I actually think it's going to explode much higher than people expect. I mean, you guys might have heard that there's a lot of contracts on Deribit that are signaling like a 300,000 Bitcoin price by the end of June. That's like the most popular call option, apparently. But this is very interesting to me because, realistically, I don't think Bitcoin is going to hit 300K. But if you go back in history here, guys, we're looking right now at Bitcoin on the weekly chart. And this is extremely interesting because you can see that you can make the argument that Bitcoin kind of has this massive kind of like double bottom pattern that's been forming for the last, like 8 years or so, basically across all of its previous cycle tops. Of course, right now we're getting a little bit of a rejection here on the weekly. And of course, everyone's panicking, thinking it's the same as the 2021 double top. And I do think that Bitcoin's going to get above this level. Maybe you'll see another pullback in the next week or two. But by the end of the month, I actually think Bitcoin is going to be breaking out of this. And I do think that the catalyst for that could be some announcement out of BTC Prague, specifically related to the Czech National Bank, announcing that they've bought Bitcoin or have approved the proposal and that they're going to be doing it soon. But realistically, I would hope that they would have accumulated it when it fell, like in the spring. So hopefully that'll be the case, and you'll be hearing an announcement of an actual buy rather than an announcement of an announcement, if you know what I mean. But anyways, what makes this chart so interesting, guys, and if you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll know that this looks almost identical to silver during the 1970s. And you can see that whereas Bitcoin has a 4-year cycle, silver had a 6-year cycle back in the 1970s. And then at the very end here, basically in 1979, in September, it basically broke above this kind of like a long-term resistance trend line that had been set across these 3 cycles. And when it broke above, it just went parabolic and it didn't look back. And again, we're just on the weekly chart here, guys. So over the course of 4 to 5 months, the price of silver basically went up by like 4 to 5x, right? Which is pretty crazy. And again, I'm not saying that the same thing's going to happen for Bitcoin, but the dynamics are very similar, with a lot of the supply kind of being restricted. Of course, back then in the 80s, it was these 3 billionaire brothers that had bought like 1/3 of the supply. These days, we have like these publicly traded companies buying a whole bunch of Bitcoin. And if you actually do the math, then it also works out to around 1/3 of Bitcoin's kind of like circulating supply is held by these entities. And the last thing I'll mention that's really fascinating is that if you, at least according to my calculations, if you actually look at silver's market cap, like the peak that it hit in 1980 when it had this huge blow off top here, if you translate that to 2025 US dollars, then it hit a market cap, I believe, of roughly around 4 trillion, which is really fascinating, of course, because Bitcoin's market cap is currently around 2 trillion. So if we assume like a similar repeat here, then we could see Bitcoin rallying as high as 200K. And I personally think that it could get to like to 10K or something like that. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, like this is one of the reasons why I think this month is going to be big. Again, we're here on just on the weekly chart. Is this rally going to happen right away? No, I think that this will happen sometime in the second half of the month, assuming it does at all. But again, it's pretty crazy to see how Bitcoin is back up at this long-term resistance trend line. And if it gets above that, of course, it's a big if, but I think that it will. If it gets above that, then we're going to see just a massive parabolic move. And again, every single time someone says that, you have to ask, what is the catalyst going to be? At least that's the way that I look at it. And I think that the catalyst for that could be some announcement here in BTC Prague later this month, June 19th to 21st. So anyways, guys, if you did make it that far and you did find that information helpful, then you can help us out by checking out the Coin Bureau deals page. We have a whole bunch of discounts on big crypto exchanges. Binance is the one that we're working the closest with right now. We have a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 of bonuses. Taking advantage of that deal is super simple. Just click that sign up now button. It takes you to a page that looks like this. Enter your email or phone number. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. It has every single crypto you could possibly need. If you can't use Binance for whatever reason, then do check out the other deals we have on the deals page, because they are available to US users like Arkham Exchange, and we have other exchanges that are also available to users in other jurisdictions that might have trouble accessing Binance, let's say. Anyways, if you did make it this far, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.